Thank you for allowing us to present today, and I hope that this presentation finds you all well. Today we want to talk about the career paths within accounting. And accounting has kind of grown now to where it's not just the typical accounting industry, it's now accounting and financial services. And we'll touch on that a little bit later as to what that really means. But we're going to touch on the industry as a whole. Then we're going to talk about specific to public accounting, the career path within public accounting, the jobs and titles, and a little bit about kind of the path within that. Next, we're going to talk about the differences between public versus private accounting, and some of the differences and kind of some of the stereotypes that hopefully we can debunk some of those rumors. But first of all, let's get started with an introduction of our presenters today. First, we have Brittany Carmen, who is a senior manager with HHM. She has been with public accounting firms her whole career, and but at different ranging sizes. She'll touch on that in just a little bit. Myself, John Eves, I'm also senior manager with the firm. I've spent about half of my career in public accounting and the other half in private industry for a publicly traded company. And then also on the presentation today, silently behind the scenes, is our marketing coordinator, Michaela Everett, and thank you for putting this fantastic presentation together for us. First, we want to get started on the industry as a glance. As I mentioned a moment ago, the accounting industry, as we all have read and heard about over the years, is rapidly changing. We get new material coming in all the time talking about where's the future of the accounting industry, and it always is talking about how the growth is getting further away from the traditional and getting more into thinking outside the box, and we'll touch on that in a moment. But as a whole, the market size of the industry, accounting and financial services, is close to $115 billion a year. Within that, there are firms and companies that is in the range of 95,000 businesses that are within the industry, and it employs roughly 570,000 people. So it's a very large and growing industry. So within the, going back one slide, within the industry, and this is where I wanted to spend a minute, is you have the traditional accounting and assurance. Now, what that really means is that it's most of the audits, reviews, compilations, things where we produce financial statements. That is really within that category there on accounting and assurance. There in the middle is individual and corporate tax, and really it's wide ranging. You have individual tax, partnership tax, corporate tax, and even estate and gift and trust tax. And then on the right side, as I mentioned earlier, there's other accounting services. This is an area that is where we continue to see the most growth and the most diversity in the type of services that we provide. Some of those services are pretty explanatory, such as valuation type services, consulting type services, and then we get into mergers and acquisitions. We have, even within HHM, we have a wealth group, which is if we've got a client who we're already servicing between the accounting and insurance or the tax area, there may be a high wealth client that is always also looking to have someone that's going to manage their wealth and help to kind of build generational wealth. And so our wealth department, that is where they come into play. And also we have a bookkeeping service within the firm. And that is one of those that is also becoming more and more prevalent with small businesses that are needing help. Our bookkeeping services is something that is a really useful thing. And another, to add on another a piece of our firm that a lot of people don't know about, is our marketing side. Michaela actually works for that group. And so that can be helpful if you're looking for redoing your website, redoing your branding, looking to really just make your business or yourself more marketable. And in the industry or in the world that we're in now, where everything is so fast paced and everything is so electronic, having a good marketing strategy is so crucial. Moving on to the next slide, I'm going to first have Brittany talk about this for a moment, is talking about public accounting, talking about the titles, the positions, and kind of what that path looks like.
Okay, thanks, John. So I just kind of wanted to run through what some of the typical, most common positions in public accounting are and what that experience might look like and those responsibilities. So to begin, as a staff, most people would come in as a staff and would remain in that position for 1 to 3 years. And as an audit staff, you would be expected to perform the detailed work of a financial statement audit under the review of a senior or a supervisor. And the staff auditors will often start to direct small audits around the 2-year mark. And as a tax staff, you would be responsible for preparing tax returns, researching different tax questions, and counseling clients on tax problems under the supervision of a senior or supervisor. And then around the 3 to 6 year mark, most people will become a senior. And as a senior accountant, you would typically work under the direction of a manager. In the audit department, the responsibilities of a senior would include overseeing completion of audit fieldwork, assigning staff to different areas of the audit, and training that staff. A senior will also be responsible for preparation of the financial statements, which is the deliverable of a financial statement audit, and also suggesting improvements of internal controls to clients. A tax senior would be responsible for preparing or reviewing tax returns for individuals and organizations, as well as researching additional tax questions or offering suggestions for tax planning and studies for potential tax savings. Then around the 6 year mark, that's when people moving up through public accounting could expect to become a manager. As an audit manager, you would be responsible for supervising the seniors and staff, as I've mentioned, as well as responsible for approving the audit program, which is the steps that we would need to perform for the audit engagement. Also helping with personnel scheduling and reviewing work papers, and then also maintaining the day-to-day client relationships. That's going to be a huge responsibility for a manager. As well as billing and training and evaluation of staff and seniors on their jobs. And then a tax manager would also direct and review the work of a staff or a senior tax preparer, as well as approving corporate tax returns prepared by the staff and be available for consultation with clients. The tax manager would also perform all of the tax planning and research any unusual tax situations for our clients. Achievement of promoting staff to manager positions is really a critical step in the long-term success of a CPA firm, because most people are not going to make it to the manager role unless there is partner potential there. And then once you've made it to the partner level, the financial rewards can be very significant. And then also the partner is normally responsible for the overall client relationships and maintaining the clients, bringing in new business, as well as just managing the firm. And the ultimate coveted position is the managing partner role, which is overseeing the operations of the firm. So to kind of then talk about the titles of our firm, we often bring interns on board, and interns can range from sophomores in college to seniors in college. We often start the younger interns in the processing department, which is very important because all of the information that comes in for tax returns goes through our processing department. And then once tax returns are prepared or audits are prepared, then that goes to our processing department to prepare the final deliverable for our clients. So it's a great way for someone with little to no experience to come in and get some exposure into public accounting. And then from the processing intern role, someone can move into a tax or audit intern role. And then we also have the staff accountant role, which would be anyone with 1 to 3 years of experience, and then a senior accountant from 3 to 6 years of experience, and then the supervisor role with approximately 6 years of experience. And then the manager role takes on a little more client responsibility than the supervisor role, as well as the billing responsibilities and maintaining those client relationships. And then we also have a senior manager role, as well as then moving on to partner and managing partner. And John, did you have anything to add on to that?
No, I think that was good summary of kind of the titles that we have. And so we wanted to kind of to piggyback on that, we wanted to play a video that talks about 4 of our what are now partners that started at all in entry-level position within the firm. And so HHM, we have a very proud track record of bringing people in, promoting within, and giving them the tools to make it all the way to where they want to be, and ultimately these 4 made it to partners. So we're going to take a moment to have Michaela play the video and let you kind of see and hear their story.
At HHM Certified Public Accountants, every professional we hire is given the opportunity and support to accomplish their goals.
I mean, on a serious note, for me, what really made the difference first coming in was just applying that same work ethic and same attitude that I had in college at HHM. So the difference was I just started taking notes. I walked around with a yellow pad, pen. I never went into a manager or partner's office without taking notes, because for me, I just needed to write it down as I heard it, to remember it, so that I wouldn't have to go to another person's office because I'd forgotten what the first person had told me. And so using that, just, you know, we've done it, you know, we study hard and get through college, right? So it just makes sense to just take those skills and then just apply them in the same way in the work.
Me, staying organized. Like you said, there's so much that's thrown at you, and keeping a good list of notes and things that I need to do, staying organized will just set you above your peers, in my opinion.
I would like to remind everybody to not lose sight of the work-life balance. When you come in, it's easy to get caught up in how many billable hours can I put in. What's, you know, just trying to do the best that you can in that aspect. But life is short, and we all have our own personal lives, and we have our families, and those are the things that we go home to that make us happy and energize us for the next day. And so I just encourage new staff and all of us to take time and enjoy your families.
I think the one thing is you don't see a firm of our size, first of all, having 4 people homegrown from start to partner track come together. I think that is such a huge, you know, recruiting tool. It's a huge tool to show, you know, other firms that, you know, we're committed to our staff and their, you know, professional development. You know, we will stick behind them, and it's just such a big deal because normally you have 1 or 2, but to have 4, as far as the community will see, I mean, that's a huge thing. It's never been done before.
Yeah, it's an indication of the type of investment, the type of leadership, the type of organic growth that HHM has focused on for years. I mean, you look at the agreements that they have, the sort of the ethic that they follow, the way they want to run the business, and I'm talking about the partners, and how they want to invest in their staff, in their company, where they want to go. Us becoming partners at the same time is a validation of what they're doing and how they're doing it.
10 years ago, 4 of our staff accountants set their sights on becoming partners. They worked hard, asked tough questions, became involved in the community, and hone their accounting skills. Recently, all 4 were named partner. While there are many paths you could choose to advance your accounting career, HHM Partners invest time and resources to help you grow and develop in your chosen area. With over 25 industry and service lines to choose from, you can carve your own career path. 10 years from now, who will you be? The choice is yours. Choose wisely. Choose HHM.
Great, thank you, Michaela. So the next slide we want to talk about is public versus private. And as I mentioned earlier, Brittany has spent the entirety of her career in public accounting, and I've spent kind of a blend between the two. First, I wanted to ask you, Brittany, what is, with you spending that time in public accounting on different size firms, talk about the different experiences you have in those firms and why you have continued to stay in public accounting.
So I began my run in public accounting with a firm very similar to HHM. It was about a 90-person firm in Atlanta, and it exposed me to all different industries and clients of all different sizes. And I think the experience that you can get in public accounting is invaluable because it allows you to see the way different businesses operate and allows you to bring a lot to the table and in terms of helping other clients and bringing that information that you obtain from working with one client and in one industry and helping others within those same industries. And then also I moved to Chattanooga and I began working with a firm that was much smaller. It was a startup accounting firm. And that was another invaluable experience because I had to just dig in. I had to do a lot of research. I had to learn so much during that time. But it also gave me an appreciation for what a larger firm has to offer because of the resources that I just didn't have at that time and the information that I had to get on my own, whereas HHM is part of a national alliance with BDO. And so if we don't have someone who's an expert in a certain area, we have the resources to find someone who is. So that's been a very good experience working with HHM and the managers and partners to be able to find, experts when we need them.
Great. So as I mentioned earlier, for myself, I've started in public accounting, started in a very small firm, roughly 25 to 30 people, started as an intern in college, continued working there all throughout college, and then after graduation, started working there as a staff accountant. And then in 2007, moved to Nashville, and that's when I started working for a large regional firm, and there was roughly 500 people in that firm, and stayed there for roughly 3 years, and then in 2010 is when came back to Chattanooga and started working for a publicly traded company, and I made that transition because at the time there was a variety of reasons, but I just felt like I was working more hours than I thought that I was wanting to do. I felt like my work-life balance wasn't what I wanted it to be. So I have all these perceived notions. And so then I went in to work in private industry for this public traded company. Stayed there for 6 years in total, but about halfway through that, I just had this feeling that I really missed public accounting. I missed public accounting because of the impact that I had on my clients. Working for a large company like that, you tend to be a grain of sand on a very large beach where you're working hard to make a difference, but at the end of the day, working in industry, sometimes your accomplishments sometimes aren't recognized as much as they are when I was in public accounting. So I stayed there for another 3 years, and then 3 years ago chose to come back out in public accounting, came to HHM, and it's It's been a great experience because it has allowed me to work again with clients that I really value, get a wide range of experience, and something that I've really found invaluable. So for a moment, Brittany, let's talk about the stereotypes. So work-life balance, how do you maintain a strong work-life balance in public accounting?
So a secret for me has been to get my work done at work and then try to have and maintain that separation between my work and my personal life. And I think that really comes into play right now because as of 2 weeks ago, our firm is now working 100% remotely. And I think the students can probably relate to this as all of their classes have been canceled and they're doing online courses now. So that has really forced me to kind of reevaluate the way that I'm working and to work a little bit smarter and maybe not harder and that sort of thing. And just making sure that I'm maintaining that separation. So I've got an office here set up at my house. And at the end of the day, I leave my office and I close the door and I have to make that commitment that, you know, at this moment in time, maybe I'm not going to be, you know, working more than I typically would have if I was in the office, to make sure that I don't get burnt out and stressed out. And so that that night I can go home and I can sleep and I can rejuvenate and be re-energized, as Brandon said in the video, to be ready to get it done the next day.
That's great. And so from my experience, like when I mentioned earlier, and I was working for the publicly traded company, I felt that I was going to obtain this amazing work-life balance by getting to work less hours and not having as much responsibility all the time. And then what I found was in industry, you are busy pretty much all the time. And there's not really as much of a break, if any break. And so if you want to take a last minute vacation, or if you just want to be able to kind of unwind, you have a lot more deadlines and a lot more pressures throughout the whole year. You've got month-end pressures, you have quarter-end pressures, year-end pressures, and then everything in between. And so it became very difficult to even find a balance. And so, as Brittany mentioned, in public accounting, you know, we have busy times of the year. We have hours that we put in from January through April, but we are very much a family together, and that's the same with any firm. Is you're very much a family in public accounting. And so the industry now has gotten to a point to where, you know, you've got those months that you're busy, and then outside of those months you're still busy, but you have a lot more freedom to go and do things that you've wanted to do and go take vacations. It's still busy, but it's not like it was when I was in industry. And talking about hours, it's, you know, we think that we're going to be able to work less hours if we're in industry. But if you spread the hours that you work in public accounting in a January through April timeframe, and then you spread that out through the whole year like you do in industry, the hours work out to be roughly the same. And sometimes you work more hours than if you're in industry, depending upon your position. Talking about another thing with specific to HHM is our industries that we work in. And so, you know, a misconception about HHM is that we are strictly just a dealership firm. And about 40% of our business does work with dealerships. That's true. But then the other 60% is completely outside of dealership. Brittany, you want to touch on some of the industries that you work on?
Yes. So I work very heavily in the construction and contractors area, as well as nonprofits. I think Chattanooga is, you know, constantly growing. We're expected to be one of the top hiring areas in the country next year. So, you know, with that, we've got a lot of construction going on, and there's a lot of contractors out there that need work done to get their contractor's licenses and get their tax returns done. And so we've got a lot of expertise in that area. We've got partners who teach at national trainings. So that is definitely an area where we are growing and where we are really strong. Also serving nonprofits in the area, and then manufacturers. You know I've got a $300 million manufacturer client, and that is going to continue to be growing. And I think John also has some experience in that area. So I'll kind of let him give us a little more information there.
Sure. And so my background originally started in manufacturing when I was at the other firms that I worked at. And so being at HHM, you get a wide variety of industries because we touch on startups and manufacturing and dealership. And so it's a very wide range. So my experience has been with manufacturing, it's been with private equity groups, investment partnerships, construction. I have experience in that area, not-for-profits. We have a large and growing area with our benefit plan practice. And then the thing that I love about HHM and public accounting in general is that if you've got something that you're not enjoying, or an area that you're working in that you don't quite enjoy, the great thing about public accounting is that you can always transition to other areas. You can transition and work with other teams. If you're in industry, you're pretty much stuck where you are. There are some areas and some companies that you can move around within, but for the most part, you're more limited. And so in public accounting and HHM, I can definitely say that is one of those that is very fulfilling in the work that you do. And that's important in a career, is if you're going to be doing this for 30 to 40 years, you want to be in a career that you feel like when you go home and you go to your family, that you are in a career that is fulfilling and you're helping people. And so I think, with today's presentation, we wanted to talk about public versus private. We want to talk about a little bit more within public and some of the different paths that you can go. And specific to HHM, we wanted to talk more about HHM and what we have going on. And the great thing about our industry is that it's continuing to grow, and there's a lot of paths that you can choose, and there's a lot of paths that you can be successful with. And so we thank you for your time and allowing us to present today, and we look forward to seeing you guys next time.